All right, so another vlog here from the hotel out here in the Caribbean while Lena does her photo shoot. Basically, Lil Pump has managed to piss a lot of people off. The offensive outrage cycle continues. But this one I'm actually kind of interested in. A lot of times it feels like when people are getting offended by rap lyrics, it's coming from people outside of the culture. Like when you hear about, a bunch of kids on a college campus getting offended by a snowman or Santa Claus or whatever the fuck they're offended by these days. A lot of times it feels kind of fake. It's like 10 people at some college and they're pissed off about something. I think that this one actually has legs and is actually worth responding to. So Lil Pump put up a snippet recently on his Instagram featuring him reciting a lyric in which he says something along the lines of, "They call me Yao Ming because my eye's so low," and I'm not gonna do it so you can't screenshot it, but he fucking pulls his eyes back into a little slanted Asian looking thing, and then he says ching chong for the ad lib. Now, a lot of people are pissed off about this. Number one of which that I saw was this guy, China Mack, who recently did a DJ Vlad interview. Now, this guy seems like a pretty valid participant in the culture, and he's not feeling it. I also saw, he put out a video basically trying to sun Pump, just basically saying, that ain't cool, blah, blah, blah. There's also some Chinese rap group called CD Rev, the nationalist rap group from Chengdu, who I guess also dissed Sweden fairly recently, and they said some stuff to Pump like, "Your head looks like a UFO, and you don't know anything about our history because you're a nation of immigrants," which is weird. I also saw that Aquafina, I'm not sure how familiar you guys are with her, but she's a pretty popular Asian rapper turned actress, celebrity. She tweeted out, "Always nice to hear a new song with Ching Chong ad-lib. Guess it's better than Eyes Chink like some other verses I've heard. But can we at least think of some more creative racist epithets?" I also saw that Ben Baller might be offended by this, although I wasn't able to find that screenshot. So I went on over and checked out Pump's Instagram comments, and I found a lot of very, very angry Asian people. For instance, Lil_Adam_made it had this to say. I don't know what the fuck it says, but man, it looks mean. I also saw that this guy, Psy.P1026, "You need to apologize, son." He's one of the members of the Higher Brothers, who's a pretty popular Asian rap group, so he jumped in the fray. So it's not just a bunch of nobodies in his Instagram comments. Also saw this guy, Tony She.1, Lil Pump, rest in shit. Bitch's cock is bigger than your dad. Your mom didn't tell you how to respect. Let dogs teach you, motherfucker, how to eat shit. Gucci gang. Whatever. Now, this song's not even out yet, and I would say that probably odds are that Pump's gonna put it out just as is, and he's not gonna respond to this. He's been embroiled in all kinds of controversy over the past few years in which he's probably had more backlash than this, and he never seems to really respond, and usually it just seems to go away. In fact, I would say that there's probably a pretty good chance that Pump doesn't even know about this. You remember that thing where Chanel West Coast was screaming at somebody outside the club, and they called her friend Lil Pump, and she's like, "That's not Lil Pump, Lil Pump's black."
Lil Pump is not black. If one more motherfucker asked him if he Lil Pump, y'all racist.
I thought that there was no reason for me to tell Pump about that because I figured that he would already know about it. But then I showed it to him a couple months ago, and he had absolutely no idea, and he actually thought it was the funniest thing he'd ever seen. And now it's also worth mentioning that this stuff is not anything new. In fact, I would say that this is probably one of the most cliche punchlines you could think of in the history of rap. For instance, in this Fader article, I guess back in July, Wiz Khalifa was criticized because he said, "Smoke got my eyes looking Korean." And then he went on the Breakfast Club and he said, "Chill out, I'm not racist. I love all races. I have Korean friends who are not offended, so I don't know those people who are saying that." I actually went on Rap Genius and searched just Ching Chong and found a ton of different lyrics of people using this as a punchline. Megan Thee Stallion, this new girl rapper who's out, "Eyes so low like I'm stew, call me Ching Chong." So there's just one of the most basic examples. Quavo, this is just totally nonsensical. Ching Chong Blau, whatever. This one, Young Thug, a while back. You can have my son. We can eat Ching Chong. Diamonds, they go boing. This is really making me wonder, what the fuck is going on in rap lyrics? Because half of this doesn't even make any fucking sense to me. Flatbush Zombies, even. Seaweed flow must be from that weed smoke. Eyes Chinese, because we smoke sour diesel. Another Thug line from Constantly Hating. Oh, actually, this is not Thug. This is Birdman. Birdman, Willie B. Smoke some stunner blunts. Now my eyes Chinese. Wait, we got more too. Key Glock, his mixtape last year, which I loved. I smoked so many trees, my eyes look Chinese. Ching Chong is like basically exactly the same punchline. Even 3-6 Mafia back in the day. Eyes like a Ching Chong. Ching Chong. Hard on like King Kong. King Kong. I guess really what's going on here and what's interesting about this is that you're taking a lyric that's happened, you know, hundreds or thousands of times throughout rap. It's just that now Asian culture is so immersed within hip hop that finally these people feel like they have a voice and that they'll actually be heard if they take offense to something that's said in the public realm. And Lil Pump, to his credit, is a perfect person to be called out for this for them, because he's a big enough name that they know that this will go like viral inherently just because of who he is. And also, unfortunately for him, he's now like 18, almost 19. The truth is that now Pump is getting into the age bracket where he's going to actually be able to be called out for the things that he says and does, and he's going to actually have to stand up for it. Whereas before, when he was 16, 17, a lot of people probably would have seen this and just said, you know, whatever, he's a fucking kid, he doesn't know any better. Anybody who's watched the YouTube Rewind this year knows that it was a big year for Asian representation.
Can we also give a moment to Asian representation in entertainment this year? Major strides were made.
I'm actually lucky enough to have Asian friends who I've heard talk about these kind of things, and I actually understand how it actually is kind of emboldening for them and exciting for them to have Asian culture represented on a larger scale in a more meaningful way, with stuff like that movie that actually Awkwafina was in, Crazy Rich Asians, a lot of more popular Asian rappers coming to the forefront, and just, you know, an increased emphasis on representing Asian people in ways that they feel is fair, since for many of them, they have previously felt like their culture was kind of being treated like a joke by the mainstream, and they didn't really feel like they were in a position to protest against that. You have to admit that overall, it's a good thing that now people feel empowered enough that they can actually come forward and have their say about how their culture is represented, and they'll actually be heard. Like, this is a way bigger backlash than you probably ever could have imagined to a fairly commonplace line like this. It's actually pretty similar to what's happened with a lot of the anti-gay stuff that's been said in rap. I mean, you'll still hear a rapper say the F word or just call something gay, queer, whatever. But more and more, you see really big like reactions. Like Offset said the thing about I don't vibe with queers, and there was just like a huge backlash to that, where he had to actually put out a statement and everything like that. I mean, part of that is because he's Cardi B's ex-husband now, or I guess they're still husband and wife, but you know. Rick Ross on the new Meek Mill album, he said faggot, and that didn't go over very well. You saw a lot of people making a big deal out of it just because that kind of stuff just seems really old school and really just weird in retrospect in comparison to how far our culture has actually come. So I guess the question is this really offensive? Well, it's kind of a weird line, because on one hand, the stereotype that Lil Pump is sort of emphasizing here, which is that Asian people have smaller eyelids or smaller eyeballs, less of their eyeball is being seen in any given time. I mean, that's really just a fact. Anybody could tell you that. It's less offensive than a lot of the other things that you can maybe imagine being said about other races and everything. Like, for instance, there's a whole lot of rap lyrics from, you know, however many years ago that are basically like, you know, stuff like, I'm gonna bomb you like I'm an Arab. And something like that is like way more obviously offensive, because it's like crediting violence to an entire race or religion in a way that's really harmful. With this Pump lyric, it's really more of just like a boring description of something that everybody already knows. Do I think that it's fair that he's getting this backlash? It's definitely to be expected. I don't think that what he's saying is necessarily as offensive as a lot of other things out there, including a lot of the things that rappers say about women that are just like totally written off as just completely normal. But I do think that even for a young SoundCloud rapper, or whatever you want to call it, like Pump, being called out on this kind of thing is just going to become more and more of an inevitability within hip hop. This actually kind of reminds me of the fact that Lil Pump actually got Asian characters tattooed on his neck at some point on that No Jumper tour a couple years ago, and Cam Girl actually wrote, Lil Pump asked me if his neck tat was written in Asian or Chinese, which I do recall was a real thing that actually happened. And I also really like this tweet off the record. Well, I guess it's on the record. Lil Pump walks into Whataburger and asks for a burger without lettuce, cheese, onions, pickles, tomatoes, mayo, mustard, and meat, because that actually happened too, and I'm going to include the photo if I can find it. Yep, there it is. Oh man, this guy was so fucking pissed. Oh, look at his face. He was so mad. This guy, I wonder what he's doing right now. We all thought he was racist. And I mean, really, he probably didn't have to be racist to be mad at Lil Pump for annoying him. Oh, All right, well, this has been another video. Thank you very much to anybody who enjoyed this. Sorry I don't have my usual setup going. I promise, actually, one big thing, if you made it to this point in the video, that I want to point out is that 2018, I'm going to be going a lot harder on this channel. I'm going to be doing a lot more than these sort of reaction videos. That is coming soon, so keep an eye out for that. I plan on increasing the quality of my content considerably. So stay subscribed, tell somebody else to subscribe, smash a like on this, drop a comment, let me know if you think that Lil Pump is a racist. Spoiler, he's not racist, he was just rapping. Peace.